So it's 3 after the top of the hour here on the East Coast, and welcome to yet another edition of the Monday Wrestling Popcast, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. I am your moderator for this evening. Joining me, as always, we have the true voice of professional wrestling on this network, and that is Ashley.
Indeed, and things.
Yes, again, I'm your moderator for this evening for a reason. I did not watch the show. The only thing I got to see tonight was the only thing that the only thing that people are saying on Twitter is worth seeing.
Oh, the Funhouse.
Of course. So, but we shall see. We'll get to that a little bit later. So, Ashley, let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited.
So Raw. It honestly does feel like, so many steps forward, so many steps back.
Of course.
So we open with Bliss for part one of the announcements. So we have Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Baron Corbin.
This is terrible. Terrible.
So it was like, I'm going to win Money in the Bank. No, I'm going to win Money in the Bank. Oh, well, Ricochet, you're too short. I'm going to win Money in the Bank. Of course, it went to a bloody tag match. Hold on, player. The match was decent. Ricochet winning with a shooting star on Corbin because McIntyre just left. After clocking Corbin for just, I guess, being a dick. I'm looking at the bloody... I'm looking at the network for the whole, what do you call it? The Edge and Christian stuff when they did the Beth Phoenix doing the Kill Bill parody. I forgot that, even though it was a few weeks ago. Yeah, the tag match was all right, but nothing spectacular. Then came the Usos that are singing their theme song with mics and wanting the crowd to join in, and the crowd are like, I did not come here to join in for fucking singing, son. And they're facing Gallows and Anderson. The superstar shakeup never fucking ends. The Usos won in a pretty good match because it's those two teams. So then Jay wanted to everybody to put the parents to sleep, parents to put their kids to sleep, or anybody to sleep, and the grandmamas to shut their eyes, and they had cell phone footage of Dash Wilder shaving Scott Dawson's back in the changing rooms.
Okay.
And they were making fun of it, and bloody Revival now come out, after this was earlier today, saying that was an invasion of privacy. And Dawson's, oh yeah, we're men, we got a few hairs on our back. I asked my best friend to help me out, and Dash said, look, I'm always happy to have his back. And they were just like, oh, so you shave each other's backs? And it was just like, Oh, wait, this is the whole Vince is laughing at this and everyone in the crowd's going, what?
Why is this a thing?
I don't know. It's fucking terrible. Miz TV with special guest Bobby Lashley with no Leo Rush.
Continues.
Where's his wife? Where's his motherfucking wife? Lashley wanted to be referred to in the third person. He thinks he's Dwayne. Oh dear. Miz says some people feel that Lashley hasn't reached his full potential, and he says, you know, I've only been in a year and I'm 2-time IC champ. What's Miz done? And Miz goes, well, if it was my old self, I'd say how I was 8-time Intercontinental Champion, 7-time Tag Champ, 2-time US Champ, and WWE Champ. And then, well, if anything, I'm an overachiever. Have you seen my wife? Which I wonder whether that line was done in to have a go at Leo. And then Lashley brought up Shane, and, you know, no wonder his potato face father thought he was worthless. And of course, that went into a match which Lashley won thanks to Shane distractions. Whatever. There was basically a picture of Miz's dad on the screen. Then Shane gave Miz a few punches. Miz fought back. Lashley hit him with a big old spinebuster, and Shane did his punches, and then some sort of submission hold. You'd have to look at the footage, Owen, to tell me what it is.
I need to say hi, Jeremy. Welcome to chat. I'd look into this. Hold on.
I'm pretty sure the clip's on WWE YouTube.
That's where I'm going. Don't worry.
I made the mistake of subscribing to them now, so I can follow this shit.
God.
And he basically grabbed a mic afterwards and let Miz know that he was the best in the world. And I was like, oh, this storyline's coming back. Could it not just die? Like, quickly? And, you know, like, desperately? Have you found the footage yet?
I'm looking for it. Where exactly is it?
Probably towards the end, because it was after the match. I have to go to WWE's YouTube.
There it is. I got it. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm searching for it right now.
I mean, it's some sort of like choke, because he was choking him out and sort of doing stuff with that.
It's like a modified triangle choke.
I was gonna say it was close to a triangle.
It's a crappy triangle. It's about as good as his punches. But the thing is, he's got the arm bar, and he's got the legs grapevine around the neck, and he's trying to arm bar. God, that's bad. I'm better than that. Holy crap!
Rough as fuck.
I'm very out of practice when it comes to my submission skills, but my God, even Anne Frank can see this doesn't look right.
Don't you mean Stevie Wonder?
No, you've never seen Clerks 2 then, obviously.
Not in a while.
Yes. Yeah, that looks bad. It was a modified triangle choke, and it does not look good at all.
And then it gets worse. Here come the Viking Raiders. No, that actually is their name now.
We're just going to call them the War Raiders or War Machine. I don't care with these stupid names anymore.
The Lucha House Party attacked them during the entrance, but the Raiders won basically in 2 minutes, and the crowd did not give a shit.
Oh, yeah, of course not.
Well done, Vince. So now it's time for Bliss Part 2. bringing out the Raw women. First up is Natalya. And then here comes Dana Brooke. And the crowd were just dead.
Oh, yeah.
No cheering. No cheering or anything. And then they brought out Naomi. And the crowd were cheering. And then Bliss is like, come on. Stop, one of our fellow women is waiting patiently backstage, waiting to be announced as the final competitor. Show some respect. And then, of course, it's Bliss herself. Yay!
Good. About freaking time.
So Sasha's retired.
Accurate.
Sasha is dead. And Naomi wanted a match, and Bliss was like, I'm not even in my wrestling gear. I even had to borrow these shoes. And Alexa, what's the time?
The time is 11:14 p.m.
There you go. That proof it's live. She accepted the match. But it was, again, it was just as bad as the first one. It's like some of the Bliss segments are really good, and then other ones like this, when it's sort of forced and is way too over-scripted, it's like, ugh.
Right.
And then, rather than going to adverts, it's time for episode 2 of the Firefly Funhouse.
Yes.
Bray is channeling his inner Bob Ross painting. And then, I don't know why it's listed on F4W as a rat puppet. Because it's Rambling Rabbit.
Yep.
Rambling Rabbit wants to know what the painting is. And he shows it him. And then turns it around. It's a burning barn with Abigail in it. And then Abby the witch interrupts and goes, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." You know. And Abby's like, "Keep the noise down." And then Bray sort of, once he's crept away, and is like, "Oh, do not worry about Abby. She's just a sociopath." And then the word comes up on the graphics, sociopath. 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 And the rabbit is like, is that the word of the day then? I guess it is. And remember, I'll keep lighting the way. All you have to do is follow. Wowsy wowza. This is like, yay.
So good.
Teasing more and more that the character's actually going to evolve back into what it was.
For the most part,
Because
yeah.
he didn't have the gloves on this time. And it seemed like because he didn't have the gloves, he was sort of reverting somewhat to his old ways. Anyway, then Naomi beat Bliss. Which, interestingly, I heard a smattering of boos for.
Oh, yeah.
I think WWE has a problem now.
Probably.
They've got so many heels that the people that are sick of seeing them as heels that want to be faces are now going to get cheered. And the faces that keep getting over, no matter what brand they're on, are going to keep getting booed. Because, let's be honest, Naomi's only on this brand because her husband is on this brand. So then Charlie's asking Ray, with Dominic, about what might be the most challenging stretch of his career. And Ray was like, it's not easy being, my size in a land of giants. And I feel like I'm letting everyone down. But I know I'm a better man, and I'll prove it tonight against Monjo. So Charlie's now back in the ring because here comes Becky 2 belts. And Charlie's like, why are you defending both titles at the pay-per-view? I'm not just trying to protect my titles. I'm trying to fight and fight all, no matter what. I wouldn't be champ if I was worried against the odds, you know. Nobody thought I could main event Mania, but I did. Everybody thought that Ronda was unbeatable until I did. Nothing that I've done was by accident. Even if it meant me being at a disadvantage. I didn't make history by dodging anybody. I made history by beating everybody. Charlotte might have the tools, but I've still got her number. And the plank, Lacey Evans might have a great right hand, but she shouldn't punch somebody who enjoys it. You know, your beating is coming. And she called out Lacey, and Lacey goes, "It's just like a man to want what he wants when he wants it." And then blame Becky's Irish temper. I'm done talking, and gets into a brawl, and then the referees came in. Finley came out, loads of officials breaking him up and not breaking him up and breaking him up and not breaking him up. Becky was good. Evans is getting a bit too repetitive with her rhetoric, as if she can't come up with anything else. My concern is they're trying to get the mainstream media by going, "Oh, wow, Lacey Evans is a former US Marine. Look at what happened to her."
So,
Except the mainstream isn't going to give a shit.
Right.
Because it's on the wrong brand, because it's on USA and not Fox. Unless she becomes the Marine 7, in which that would be an irony, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the hardcores don't care for her because they're more invested in the ones that can wrestle. Then there was some Make-A-Wish stuff, including a young girl that wanted to meet Stephanie. Which is that girl's got balls. I don't mean Stephanie. So that was a nice little thing. Then Hawkins and Ryder versus the Revival, which was the Revival's match for about 4 minutes, and then the final 17 seconds, Ryder caught Dawson with a crucifix pin and got the win. And then Sarah Schreiber, we know her name now, somewhat robotic, but also said it just sort of like a standard sort of sports like touchline reporter. You know, her line of Shane basically saying that he's still the best in the world. So Miz apparently is challenging Shane to a steel cage match. I don't know when. And then here comes Sammy. Showing some images of how nice his life was, but it was great for more reason than trips. He rekindled his love of history, sociology, and psychology. And reading up about psychology made him understand the fans and put a simplified definition of psychological entitlement on the screen, which refers to a general belief that one deserves more or is entitled to more than others. Great thing is, if you search psychological entitlement, guess what the first Google result says?
Mm-hmm.
Psychological entitlement refers to a general belief that one deserves more of or is entitled to more than others. So exactly what was written. So this reading was literally, what's the first answer on Wikipedia? That's it. The fans thought they were always right and should be given what they want, and if they don't, they can throw tantrums. A man wanted his son to ask him for an autograph at 4 a.m. Sammy refused the autograph. He figured the fans thought he enjoyed doing that, but actually refusing that autograph made him sick. It made him sick because at 5 years old, the kid already thinks he's entitled. He's been more than generous in his career. He thought 17 years of 5-star matches was pretty fair. But from now on, he's just going to give the public whatever he wants, and we'll have to take it. He mocked the fans who thought he should just quit if he doesn't like the company, which is something that I thought, that I brought up last week, admittedly. Quitting would be amazing, but what would be more amazing is hold them all accountable every single week. So now I'm trying to work out if this is a jibe at everybody that's trying to leave.
Could be.
He calls the fans drunk with power, and he's there to take the power back. And I'm like, hold on. So for the past however many years, the authority and creator has been in power. The public / the universe got the power back in December?
Yeah.
And Sammy saying that it's his fault that he got injured in the previous era before the public became drunk with power. There is problems with this logic. We are nitpicking on this just like we are with Avengers Endgame. We are nitpicking all the foibles because it's just not connecting with me like it did those first few weeks.
That sucks.
I see what he's trying to do, but the problem is, it's like he's angry at everything. And there's nobody yet that sort of come out and addressing him saying, what are you talking about?
Right.
Because when you look at that roster, there's nobody there at the minute that has the right to. Because they're all in other storylines. So, bit fucking awkward.
That's the tale.
Shane accepting his challenge. Apparently, it is for Money in the Bank. So not only have we got to have the ladders, but we've got to have the briefcases above the ring. We've got to have a steel cage hanging down as well. So amazingly, Joe and Mysterio didn't go a minute. Joe basically said that Dominic was ashamed of him and how quickly he went to sleep at Mania. If Ray was any kind of good dad, he'd have given Dominic a mask so he could hide his shame. And how Mysterio was used by AJ Styles as a weapon to steal his Universal title opportunity. He's going to take his frustrations out on him. Good match. Weird fucking finish. He went for the 619 but blocked it. Joe did. Tried to lock on the Coquina clutch, but Ray escaped. Sort of did a Pele kick style back on him. Rolled him over into a very awkward cradle, despite the fact that Joe's hands were clearly, if not under the ropes, at such a distance that he could have easily reached them. And the ref counted to 3. So, the positioning just made it look fake. If you just tweaked it here and there for it to be just about out the reach of Joe, it would have been feasible. But it was like Joe was having to move his arms so it didn't look like he could reach. It's quite the opposite. It's just like, ugh. And then the contract signing between Seth and AJ, with Cole hosting, saying, they're the best in-ring performers of their generation, and asked AJ what a win would mean to him to continue to build his legacy. And it's like, The whole reason he came to Raw. SmackDown was great for 2 years and was proud of what he did there. He's always liked Rollins, but Rollins has got something that he wanted, and that's the Universal title. People do unexpected things to get what they want. Some people thought that Rollins might be the next AJ. Younger, faster, stronger. But Seth will never be me. And Seth goes, I never wanted to be the next you. I wanted to be the first Seth freaking Rollins. And it wasn't the house that you built, AJ. This is Monday Night Rollins. You'd have to be better than phenomenal to beat me. And Styles is like, I know how hard you've worked to win that belt. And I wonder, how on form you are right now. And the crowd are chanting, burn it down. And Styles with a good ad-lib comment, don't worry. Once it's burnt down, I'll build it back up. Oh, and you and your little team, your little brotherhood, they're not around anymore to keep going. You went through hell at Mania, and I don't think you got much left. And I'm ready to go now because it's on my T-shirt. Never rest, never rust. And I'm like, you literally didn't wrestle for a month before WrestleMania because it was in your contract because you needed to rest because you were injured. Just saying. Styles saying he'll be a bulldog at Money in the Bank, sink his teeth in and not let go until he was Universal Champ. Rollins wanted AJ to understand that while there were similarities, there's a difference. The one big difference, he's beaten Lesnar. I was at my best when I beat Lesnar at Mania, and I'll be at my best at Money in the Bank when I beat you, AJ. And then Seth signs the contract. Styles grabs the belt, poses with it, hands it back to Seth, offers him a handshake. Seth instead holds up the belt. Then AJ attacks him. Rollins fought back, kicked him out the ring. Suicide dove him. Celebrated. Styles jumped on the apron, caught him with a forearm, and then a phenomenal forearm through the announce table with Styles standing tall. And that was Raw. Also, the guy that was majorly over last week, thanks to his mustache, not on the card. In main event, oh my God, they had 3 matches. It must be bad. Mojo beat Heath Slater. So I guess we'll find out whether he's still got that stupid shit on his face after not seeing it for weeks. Cedric beat Cesaro, I guess, in the rubber. So yeah, Cesaro, big talent. No, he's just jobbing on main event. And the Iconics beat Alicia Fox and Tamina Snuka in a non-title match. Shit Raw, shit main event, everybody. Everybody can go home and never come back. In other WWE news, dear God, the next WWE pay-per-view has been announced. Have you heard about this pay-per-view going?
I haven't.
WWE Stomping Grounds.
Oh, Stomping Grounds. Yeah, I saw that. That sounds horrible.
Stomping Grounds in Tacoma, Washington.
Why?
And then they're heading to Everett, Washington for Raw. I guess we're just going to college arenas rather than big arenas for quite a lot of the shows now, maybe? Is it because we're going to have to spend so much money doing all the shows in Madison Square Garden, so we're saving up by just going to college arenas? Huh? In other related news. As I'm just going through the news from F4W. 3 Lucha Underground wrestlers are wanting legal representation to get out their contracts. Jeff Cobb, Famous B, and Sonny Kiss are all seeking lawyers. And reportedly Willie Mack is as well. The interesting thing about this, of course, Jeff Cobb's already been wrestling in Ring of Honor for months and has been fine. Yet with Willie Mack, supposedly Dorian Roldan has been threatening to send both NWA and Ring of Honor cease and desists about using Willie Mack. Apparently. And I'm like, this is why I don't give a shit about AAA, because Dorian Roldan is a bit of a dick. I wonder if there's going to be any statement about whether there actually is a 5th season of Lucha Underground or whether it's, just dead. And the fact that Jeff Cobb's character is literally dead, why is he still contracted? And also with Sonny Kiss, how does this affect AEW? And whatever. I guess not, because of the partnership that they have and whatever, but at the same time, the fact that there's already been settlements to release El Hijo de Fantasma, Evilise, Joey Ryan, and Cobra Moon, I'm thinking that promotion might as well just give up and let everybody go, and it'll be good publicity for them. But, Lillian Garcia's joining the Professional Fighting League as a ring announcer for their shows. Basically, by the looks of it, the Professional Fighters League is like a seasonal show. They do 10 shows over the year. The first show being next Thursday, May the 9th, culminating in the championship finale, which will be New Year's Eve. So I guess they're trying to do a Rising, I think it's called. The traditional New Year's Eve Japan crazy shit show and all that. As announced on last night's Impact pay-per-view, Impact Plus is coming, Owen.
Yes.
Basically, it's the Global Wrestling Network, renamed because where's my fucking gold, Jeff? Which is always good. It's practically the same thing. I don't know what's going on with that. Did you hear about the deal with... I'm wondering whether this is the revival shit happening tonight. I'm guessing you've heard about the deals, haven't you? Owen, you already asleep?
Oh, yeah.
You've heard about the revival deals, haven't you?
$5,000?
500,000.
500,000, yeah, that's right.
For 5 years.
And they turned it down.
Apparently they've turned it down. So that's why they are sort of getting buried to some extent. It looks as if the whole Harper contract thing is punishment for the speaking out sort of stuff. I don't know if we mentioned that last week because so much developed over the sort of weekend and various things. I believe on the graphic, Sasha was supposed to be in that Money in the Bank rather than on Bliss. So whether that's sort of repercussions, probably. I don't know. The other news yesterday from Impact, Slammiversary is going to be July 7th in Dallas, Texas. Which means Raw and SmackDown are going to be in Dallas Monday and Tuesday. Then the G1 is going to be there on Saturday, and then Impact Slammiversary on the Sunday. So if you live in Texas, that weekend is going to be crazy ass shit. I think that's the moral of the story or something. Let's see. Oh, John Cena has been officially announced now for Fast and Furious 9. I'm sort of hoping it's a villain role, because I'd like to see that out of John. Like a proper villain, not like the villain that turns good, like in Bumblebee. See him be proper sinister. Tomorrow, SmackDown will be having Becky Lynch one-on-one with Bayley and some sort of Kofi Kingston interview, by the looks of it. Tito Ortiz coming out of retirement for Combate Americas, so I bet Del Rio's really happy with that. Seth Rollins randomly appearing at some NXT house shows over the weekend. Certainly the one that was in his hometown of Davenport, Iowa, so he was there. Now, I think, is this the one that... I think this one happened like the day after we did the show last week. Dean Malenko quit WWE Creative. And we're literally within hours, he's on StarCast 2 as an appearance, as part of the stuff. What do you think that says about the situation backstage at WWE, Owen? Okay. It's just literally just me now. Ivelisse and Lance Anoa'i were among the names at the WWE Performance Center tryouts. There were a few other indie names, but arguably Lance and Ivelisse were the two biggest, more high-profile. Ivelisse obviously taking advantage of getting out of her Lucha Underground contract as soon as possible and all that. And something that I don't even know that we mentioned last time, the B team are now officially on SmackDown as well. Nia Jax has undergone successful double knee surgery. She's recovering from that. And then arguably the big one. The WWE income numbers came in for the first quarter, and they were down quite a bit on the first quarter from last year, and also heavily down from the last quarter of 2018. The reasoning that was given was somewhat shit. Because Vince said it was talent absentees. It was the issue. Quote, when you don't have talent, you don't have storylines. When you don't have storylines, you're not going to do well in terms of live events and TV ratings. It was like a cascade of events that were happening. At the same time, Vince followed it up saying that all the talents are back and they've made new talent and is optimistic for the future. Yeah, so the Q1 revenue was down 3% year over year due to lower merch and lower ticket sales. Live event revenue, not including the the tapings, was down 15% from the same quarter last year. And consumer products, which include like the DVDs and everything, were down 11% as well. They were stressing the whole new beginning of the Fox era. The network is going to be relaunched through Endeavor. So basically like ESPN Plus, which is the rumored, tiered system for the network. The big thing, they declined to answer anything about Saudi Arabia or about the UK and the European sort of expansion that's going on. They would not be brought up on it, despite the fact that like major shareholders were wanting to know about it and they weren't disclosing it. When asked about, changing characters and storylines, suddenly Triple H got brought in, and saying, top stars are already coming through the developmental system. And 15 talents came up last year and 10 already this year. And then also acknowledging that there could be, they could be getting rid of 205 Live in favor of doing a third hour on Fox of SmackDown. Which means I now need to go to see where the prices are. So, yeah. As it stands, the stock prices, which were at just over $100 at one point this time last week, are now at the close today on Monday. They're down nearly 20% in total. Which probably says a lot. And not in a good way. Meaning that Vince might not be a billionaire for too long if the share price keeps going down that considerably. Just seems rather messy, shall we say. So in terms of other stuff, Owen, are you back? Well, Owen, can I wake you?
I'm here for the most part.
Did you catch any of the shows this past weekend or any bits of it?
No, I've been watching. I watched Crime Wave.
Oh, the GCW show.
Yeah, that's what I've been watching lately.
Now I understand, after seeing Botchamania that went up over the weekend, now I understand why that No Holds Barred, the last show from last month or from a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
The show had a 2:30 curfew cutoff, which then started with a 10-minute crucifixion and then a chain rope match, which then took another 10 minutes to get rid of the chain ropes and put the normal ropes back on, which left them to do 9 matches in 90 minutes.
So there's a lot of things going on this week. Like there's two GCW shows this weekend.
Yeah, we'll get to them. It's a shame you didn't catch the Crockett Cup because I didn't think it was too bad.
I wanted to, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
I would have if I would have been home, but I wasn't home.
So the team that wasn't even a team of Royce Isaacs, I can't even call him Royce Isaacs because his actual name is Royce Isaacs, and Thomas Latimer, the former Bram, won the tag team battle royal to progress on. Then in the first round, Flip and Bandido beat Stuka Jr. and Guerrero Maya Jr. Good opening match. A short match with Isaacs and Latimer beating Crimson and Jax Dane. Then the Briscoes beating the Rock and Roll Express in sort of like minutes, sort of threatening to basically retire them by beating them. And oh, look, they lost. So I know that's the Rock and Roll hanging up their boots. Who knows? And then PCO and Brody beat Kojima and Nagata in a good match. That certainly went slower, especially because you've got, a New Japan style. You sort of incorporated that in, which was pretty good. Then for the vacant NWA Women's title, with Medusa unveiling it and sort of giving an introduction before it. Allison beat Santana Garrett with a spinning lariat. It wasn't given a lot of time, and it was a decent match, but not as good as it probably could have been. It makes you wonder what would have happened if Jazz was able to face Allison Kay and sort of pass the torch, if you will, maybe because of the not being able to take part due to the personal and health reasons and all that. So then the semi-finals of the Crockett Cup, Isaacs and Latimer beat Flip and Bandido, which was sort of a surprise. And then the Briscoes and Brody King and PCO. So it eventually became a usual. It got crazy. A lot of crazy spots and whatever. So at the end, basically, all four of them found chairs and were smashing each other with the chairs. Then the referee came in and called for the bell and DQ'd the Briscoes, despite the fact both teams were swinging the chairs. So the Briscoes probably rightfully jumped Villain Enterprises, and the ref Scott Turner. The craziest spot coming out of that was Mark Briscoe hitting a somersault senton onto PCO, who had a chair on his chest on the apron. Jay then basically said, practically, fuck NWA, and they left. I mean, he didn't say the F word. He basically went to hell with to hell with NWA. So then we had Willie Mack versus Colt Cabana for the NWA national title, which again was a pretty good match, but you felt just as it was getting going, here comes a Superman press pin, and Colt Cabana is your new national champion. And then as Matt goes to the dressing room, here comes James Storm saying how the management were holding Cabana down when he had the NWA title, and the management only wants a certain type of person to hold the title, not a Hellraiser like him. Then challenged Cabana to a match, did the sorry about your damn luck thing, and it was like, oh, okay. So then it's the Crockett Cup finals. Billy Corgan and Joe Koff coming out. Then here comes Nikita Koloff, talking about how he's now a preacher and toured the world preaching, and how, oh, look, he isn't actually Russian. And then Magnum TA came out on his super duper Segway style thing, because they are there to witness the Crockett Cup finals, which not only were to win the Crockett Cup, but to also crown new NWA Tag Team Champions. Which, so basically the whole idea was PCO's arm got, I guess, dislocated, supposedly. And PCO started shouting at Brody King, Brody, fix my arm. So he did the arm breaker on the apron over the rope, which apparently set it back in place. And then PCO basically went to a moonsault in sort of minutes. Bit short, but I guess because they'd both been through two or at least in the case of Isaacs and Latimer, 3 matches. Probably fair. And then Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll for the NWA title. I don't know what blade job was done on Aldis, because he was. I mean, it wasn't on the level of Eddie Guerrero's bleeding, but it was like there was so much blood around that it was like, oh. Somehow I think at certain points you did wonder whether Aldis was out of it, because he did seem a little out of it and not a bit groggy and whatever. Aldis eventually managing to win with his cloverleaf submission. Skull tapping. They shook hands and hugged. It was and the really interesting thing as well is Camille sort of was sent to, well, she was ejected early on, but then came out when the ref got bumped, because of course Brian Hebner had to do a ref bump. Tommy Young, who was supposed to be officiating the match sort of from the outside, apparently, I guess, didn't give a damn. But Camille came out and was going to spear Skull, but Aldis basically stopped and said, "Go to the back. You know, I want to win this the way I want to win it." And of course he did. So it's like, does she need to belong anymore? Skull put over Aldis afterwards, saying, you know, not only helped him at the beginning of his career, but also who he is today. Aldis then said, you know, Skull's the biggest self-made star today, and that tonight was for the ones that laughed at the idea of the NWA coming back, and that it's filled with people who have had courage and valor and such. It was nice. Certainly a good last few matches. Not basically no production snafus at all, really, as well. It sort of looked much more proper. So I guess that's a positive. The Road to Wrestling Dontaku show from in the week. Sho and Yo retained against Bushi and Shingo to keep those belts. What was said to be a really good main event. Then also the heavyweight tag titles in the Hinokuni show from yesterday. Saw the Gorillas of Destiny beating Makabe and Yano to retain the belts. And Jay White beat Hiroki Goto in a pretty good main event to get the thing there. In terms of the other New Japan stuff coming up, obviously this weekend it is the Wrestling Dontaku shows. 2 shows back to back, Friday and Saturday in Fukuoka. Night 1 having Jeff Cobb defending the Never Openweight title against Tai Chi, and Dragon Lee defending the junior heavyweight belt against Taiji Ishimori in Taiji's rematch. And then on night 2, on the Saturday, the early hours, Ospreay and Dragon Lee will face Taiji Ishimori and the Mystery Man, who is probably El Phantasmo, considering who it looks like from what they've already shown. We're also getting Sho, Yo, and Ibushi versus Shingo, Bushi, and Naito, which could be an interesting 6-man. Ishii's facing Evil. Okada's also defending the heavyweight title against Sanada in a interesting little affair. And Jushin Thunder Liger is apparently taking on the Gorillas of Destiny with Yado alongside Yano and Makabe. quite a lot of multi-man sort of matches. There's also a match on the opening match of day 2, which is going to be some of the young boys, Narita and Umino versus Tsuji and Umura. So at least they're going to get a chance to shine. That should be a nice little affair, to say it like that. So in terms of stuff from this past week, if I can find them, there was just one GCW show this weekend, wasn't there? It's the 2 that are coming up this week, isn't it? Owen,
What?
we're talking about Game Changer.
What about it?
There's 2 this week, isn't there?
Yes.
I'm just making sure that I haven't missed anything, because it seems like they're having like 59 shows every week sometimes.
Yeah,
So-
this Friday and Saturday night.
So we'll get to that in a minute. So the show from, I think it was Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Which is weird.
I watched it.
From the Voltage Lounge in Philly, because
That
apparently they
venue
couldn't get the
sucked.
ECW. They couldn't get the ECW arena, I guess.
God, that venue sucks. Oh my God, I've done bigger shows in that than at that venue. Ridiculous.
So we opened up with the Fuckfest match.
Yes.
Facade winning over the Grim Reaper, Pinky Sanchez, Wheeler Yuta, Brandon Kirk, Kit Osborne. So basically a 6-way scramble.
Not what I was expecting.
That's fair.
Fasade's all right. He's not great, but I mean, I understand why he's a thing. I like Facade more than I like No Way Jose.
Uh-oh.
Same
He
thing.
said the thing.
Same thing.
Next up, if I can get the right tab. There we go. Ophidian beating Gringo Loco.
Solid match.
Good to see. Ophidian is pretty good.
Yes, he is.
How about Tandy? The GCW pages aren't listing the cards. We quick to cage match. Then Jimmy Lloyd beating Marco Stunt. That was probably stupid.
I mean, I had an issue with my stream when I actually during that match. I wanted to watch more of it than I was able to.
Still stupid though, I'm guessing.
It's decent one I saw.
Mance Warner beating Schlack.
Oh my God, Schlack is basically like, to me, he's kind of like Zandig, but not talented.
Jesus!
Yeah, pretty much. God, he sucks. Oh my God, he is terrible. I'm like, GCW obviously came out of Jersey Championship Wrestling, and it's like it was more of a death match fed, kind of like the waning days of when CZW was in its hype, was in its high like elevation time. But it also had good wrestling. Like Schlack seems like he just needs to be like, no, just send him back to CZW. Let DJ work with him.
Homicide beating Colby Carino by ref stoppage.
Oh boy. Oh, that was uncomfortable to watch.
Colby thinking is his dad again, is he?
Homicide, first off, looking like Homicide looks like Dude Jack now, first off. Every second when he would get on the mic or he'd just yell in the camera, he pretty much said he's gonna rape Colby because of Steve. And he put him in an STF and he kept doing it. And then there was, I think, I guess someone on commentary, like Danny Havoc was on commentary, and it wasn't great. but it was okay. It was sufficient, I guess. There was a goddaughter or granddaughter of Steve was there to try to throw the towel in, and that's how the match ended.
No.
It was interesting. It was brutal. Colby basically won the crowd over by the time the match was over too.
Then Dustin Thomas beating KTB.
Surprising win. I think Dustin Thomas is going to be a big deal. I don't know when they're going to do it, but I swear to you, if Shikara wants to put Dustin Thomas together with Zach Gowen and Gregory Iron, that needs to happen for King of Trios this year. Honestly,
it may happen. Who knows?
I would not be shocked. And the idea that I had with putting Cabana together with RJ and David Arquette as a trio, I want to see that too. So it was interesting. I mean, Kyle the Beast losing, it was not what I was expecting. There was a brutal setup for a superplex, and it looked like it was going to be devastating. And Thomas DDT'd him off the top, and he won with the springboard 450. So
I'm trying to think if there's some wrestler that's nicknamed like Baby. So then the tag team can be called 3 Legs and a Baby or something.
God, it was interesting. It was uncomfortable to watch in some ways, but I understand. I mean, you have to understand what you're getting into when you watch a Dustin Thomas match.
But Dustin won, so that's all that matters.
Yes, he did. KTB was defeated. Not what I was expecting was going to happen, but then again, he's going to get pushed for a bit, I have a feeling. And deserving.
Mm-hmm. Then Nick fucking Gage.
Heck yeah.
Beating Connor Claxton.
He beat Claxton like he owed him money.
He may have done. I don't know.
Seriously, Claxton had no chance in this match. Gage beat the daylights out of him, hit the choke breaker, and done that match over. And then he got on the mic, of course, and he set up his match for Friday, which, oh my God, I can't wait to see. Gage and Janela for the GCW Championship.
And to hype that up a little bit more, Janela beat Tony Deppen in the main event.
It was really good too. Deppen's very underrated. And after the match, Joey put him over on the mic and basically said that he needs to show up for GCW. He needs to show what he can do. He needs to be one of the locker room leaders. And he says, if you shake my hand right now, I'll forget everything. And Deppen just flips him off and bombs out. And I was like, he is such a great heel. I'm looking forward to seeing his match against Jonathan Gresham on Friday.
Yeah, quickly bring up the card for that. So for GCW this coming weekend, starting off Friday in Asbury Park, New Jersey, for The Block is Hot, which is Deppen versus Gresham, Colby Corino versus Jimmy Lloyd if they're still alive.
Should be interesting.
Homicide versus Mance Warner if they're still alive, and the Nick Gage Joey Janela title match.
You got Lucky against Orange Cassidy. You got Schlack against GQ. What is his name? Raver. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
G Raver.
G Raver. Yeah, that's it.
G Raver.
And Marco Stunt versus MJF. And there's more other than that, but that's all that was announced. That's all that's announced on the GCW Wrestling _ Twitter feed right now.
Yeah. And then the following night, the last one's left in Summit, Illinois.
Yes.
The two which revolve that I've got listed here, the two that we revolve maybe around the title. Nick Gage, if he's still champion, will be defending against Mance Warner. And then I guess if Joey Janela's champion, he'll be maybe defending against Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
Or might the independent wrestling title be on the line and whatever?
Possibly.
If not, then we've also got Alex Colon versus Jimmy Lloyd.
Marco Stunt
others.
versus Tony Deppen. There's, according to the Twitter feed, we've got Orin versus Ryan and Crane versus Murdoch.
Just trying to have a quick look. So,
and of course, we're building towards June 1st for Tournament of Survival 4, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which we only have 4 names announced as of right now, and Kenta's going to be there.
Yeah, making an appearance.
Yep.
June 20th, they're in Philly. They're doing a July the 4th show, but they haven't announced it yet, I think.
It's a backyard wrestling show.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
By invite only.
Are they doing that on purpose? Because, 2 weeks before is Tournament of Death.
I mean, possibly.
And DJ Hyde's farm. Then they're back at Asbury Park, New Jersey at the end of July. And then I'm guessing somehow in collaboration probably with Big Japan. They're doing 2 shows in Japan over August. Mid-August, mid to late August. Fun, I guess, will be had.
Oh, yes.
AEW's Gauntlet for the Gold. Interesting stuff. Where Trey Lamar beat Facade, Lee Moriarty, Zach Thomas, Wheeler Yuta, and Lewis Linden in the 6-way. To Infinity Beyond retained their tag belts against Damian Bestia 666, aka the La Familia de Tijuana. MJF beat Shane Douglas after Big Twan Tucker interfered and hit Shane with a chair. He actually wrestled the son of a bitch. DJZ in his match that he's leaving won, beating Gringo Loco Deranged and Flip Kendrick. DJ thanked the crowd afterwards because it is his last American independent match before heading to the E. And then the Gauntlet for the Gold, I don't know who was in it. All I do know is it was won by Eddie Kingston.
Interesting.
Cutting a promo after saying that he will not retire from wrestling until he wins the absolute title, and that Filthy Tom had better be ready for a fight. That sounds fun. Also, Beyond Wrestling's episode 4 of Uncharted Territory last week. Jay Freddy beat Brandon Thurston in the Discovery Gauntlet match. It was LD Mantis Montesanti beating Mick Moratti, so Mantis will now progress on into the Gauntlet. Poof or Puff, I don't know, beat Coach Mammon. The Beaver Boys beat the Butcher and the Blade of Andy Williams and Pepper Parks. Solo Darling victorious over Davien. And then in the 6-man tag, Team Pazuzu of LAX and Chris Dickinson beat the Dynasty of Alexander Hammerstone, MJF, and Richard Holiday, who was not on a holiday. So surely that's a lie. So then we get to Owen's favorite show, probably of the weekend. The women's shows. Starting off with Eve's We're All Gonna Die, the frantic scramble in search for meaning for a mess of meaty interactions, also known as the Chris Wolf Retirement Show. So we had a 4-way with Erin Angel. I think it was Session Moffat actually beat Erin Angel, Killer Kelly, and Laura DiMatteo, because according to the way it's written on Cage Match, the 3 beat the other one, which I don't get. Ginny beat Yetta. Jamie Hayter victorious over Viper. Charlie Evans beat Tito. Kaylee Ray retained the Eve title over Nina Samuels. And then the Chris Wolf retirement was actually an interesting one because it was a traditional Japanese retirement. So it was practically any woman that wanted to face her for 2 minutes, facing her for 2 minutes. Chris and Laurie Mateo went to a 2-minute draw. She then beat Erin Angel, Rhea O'Reilly, Yetta, Rebel Kinney, and Killer Kelly. The match with Viper went to a 2-minute draw. She then beat Kaylee Ray and the Session Moth. She lost to Nina Samuels. And then time limit drew with Ginny and Jamie Hayter. And then beat Charlie Evans. So practically she won every single match, bar one. And Chris Wolf had a nice video package and a really good send-off. It was a very well done thing and a very sort of like emotional show. With Alex Windsor and Charlie Morgan and Dan Reed, Chris Wolf herself, and Jimmy Havoc doing commentary. It's one that's definitely worth catching on Pro Wrestling Eve's archive, if you can. It's really a sort of fun show. However, that wasn't the only women's show, which I didn't keep track of. This might get a giggle out of Owen. WSU did a double set of shows this weekend. The Friday show was entitled Thank You for Being a Friend. What do you think the second show was called? Owen's trying to remember the lyrics to the theme for the Golden Girls.
No, I know the theme. I just didn't know if they'd go with it. Travel down the road and back again?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Double bill. So, the first night was mainly a tag title tournament match. However, there were some other matches around it. So it started off with a singles match, Violette beating Shazza McKenzie. Then in the tag title tournament, we had 3 first-round matches. I guess we only had 6 teams. So the Platinum Honeys of Angel Sinclair and Ava Everett beat Diamante and Valenta Vasquez. Rainbow Bright of Gabby Gilbert and Luscious Latasha beat the Hex of Nina Monet and Ravana Zinn. And the Endless of Davian and Megan Mason beat Sci-Fi of Aya Pereira and Vader Scott. Then a couple of singles matches. Casey Catal beat Corrine Mink. And Brittany Blake defeated Jinx. And then for the vacant tag titles, the Platinum Honeys got the win over Rainbow Bright and the Endless to become new WSU tag champs. Then following on day 2, a more traditional sort of card from the Coliseum in Voorhees, New Jersey. We had Violette beating Vader Scott. Ayala Nix defeating Nina Monet. Russia Slala victorious over Nevaeh Chantel. Damaris beating Valentina Vasquez by DQ. Aya Pereira beat Casey Catal to become number 1 contender to the WSU Spirit title. I believe is held by Chris Statlander. Davian beat Megan Mason. Ravana Zinn over Izzy McCoy. The Platinum Honeys retained against Rainbow Bright, their WSU tag belts. And Brittany Blake beat Diamante in the main event of that one. Let's see. As I look through the list. Sometimes it's easier to just look through the list on Cage Match to work out. Oh, there was an interesting thing that happened at the Stardom show over the weekend. Tony Storm was there for their show at Kurikan Hall and whatever, making an appearance. She didn't wrestle as part of a tournament thing that they did. However, apparently some foreign fans have got in trouble. They were doing conduct that was improper when regarding to Tony Storm. I don't know what it is. All I've seen is reports that it was improper. I'm not entirely exactly secured of what's going on there. Something happened, probably. Now on to Shikara and Fright Night. Ophidian, Fifant, and Green Ant winning the opening over Cornelius Cromwell, Sonny Defarge, and Volgar. Then Shazza McKenzie beat Blank. So it's proof that maybe Blank has got a problem with women. I don't know. Because Penelope Ford beat him, I think, last month or the month before. And Shazza got the number on him this time. Oceana and Murloc versus Lucas Calhoun and Stray Cat. The really interesting thing here is Lucas Calhoun and Stray Cat won. So Oceana and Murloc were on 2 points and possibly challenging for the tag belts, except they obviously lost their points, so that mixes things up there. Still Life of Hope Forgotten Pairs obviously retain the Young Lions Cup. Still pretty good match anyway for Braden Lee subbing in for the injured Unsocial Jordan. Then the weird one, Jakob Hammermeyer versus the Patriot, Del Wilkes. So it was a singles match, but then Jakob brought a big guy that he described as Das Wildebeest. And in response, the Patriot had backup of John Francis of Coronado in sort of Lex Luger style red, white, and blue gear. The problem was his ring pants looked like that bloody Ricardo Diaz guy. You know, the dancing naked gay guy meme thing that's spreading about. Bit of a weird image, but the Patriot and John Francis win. Then unsurprisingly, the Whisper and Princess Kimberly infighting continued, which gave a good win to Travis Huckabee and Tony Deppen. So they are the new Campeonatos de Parejas. Dasha versus Missile Assault Man. Dasha successfully defended officially for the first time. Interestingly, though, Boomer did get involved and did sort of a move on Missile while the ref wasn't watching. But then Boomer basically had enough of his dad antics, so, you know, he's true heel. And then Hurricane, Fire Ant, Razorhawk, and Solo Darling, the Technicos beating the Rudos of Roy Gulak, Calux, Hardy Ice Cream, and Cajun Crawdad. With, I think, Hurricane getting the pin and getting a big old reception afterwards as well. They'll be back in a couple of weeks for Infinite Gauntlet, which always normally gets pretty fun. Then to quickly go through the Impact show from last night. So we opened up with an X Division 6-way with Ace Austin beating Aiden Prince, Eddie Edwards, Jake Chris, Jake Dino, and Petey Williams. It was all right, but it was like over in minutes. Sort of did feel like it was thrown together, really. Then Scarlett Bordeaux beating Rohit Raju in another match that felt sort of thrown together. Moose in the North beating the Rascals in a really sort of fun 6-man. Really did feel good. And even though the sort of baddies won, because it was Canada, Ethan Page and especially Josh Alexander were like absolutely over. So it didn't really matter. Then for the Knockouts title, Taya beating Jordan Grace clean with no shenanigans, which I was confused by. Then Rich Swann beating Sami Callihan in the OVE rules match, with a fake ass baseball bat being used, and I think it was the finish. It was like a submission where Sammy tapped out because of the baseball bat. Certainly a different style of thing from Swan and Callahan, and actually really delivered. Tessa Blanchard beat Gail Kim in what I actually think was Gail Kim's actual retirement match. Because the way Tessa Blanchard showed respect afterwards, also a random Tully's showing up as well for all this, which is a bit crazy. But Tessa was like saying thank you and sort of crying and let Gail Kim say her goodbyes and everything to the ring. So I think that was Gail Kim's actual retirement. She was just looking for a better person than, I guess, Sue Young and Ali. Shows you how good that situation was. It's getting better now. Brian Cage then beat Johnny Impact because Lance Storm weren't taking no shit. Brian Cage got busted open pretty badly. Also took a rough move which left him in the hospital all day today. I don't think anything's broken or anything. It's just bruising and sore spine. So they wrote him off television today. But yeah, well, I'll go through them in a minute. They have got tapings though coming up next weekend at the ECW arena. So if he's okay and cleared for that, I'm guessing he'll be showing up there. And then in a pretty ridiculous Full Metal Mayhem match, LAX beat Lucha Brothers to get the titles back again. Apparently this time it is actually the end. Because afterwards, Conan got in the ring and said, we're going to do a hand thing. Lucha Brothers and LAX Forever, of which I think it was Santana basically went, why are Lucha Brothers said first? And Conan was just like, let it go, man. So it's like, the finish, I think, clearly went wrong because there were some forks and Penta got spiked in the head by one of LAX. And then they tried to do the sort of electric chair drop style with some sort of crazy move. But you can hear as he's falling back, the guy at the top of the ladder, I think, is shouting, wait up, wait up. It's a bit awkward. But other than that, a good pay-per-view. I don't know if it was worth $40 or $20 or however much it was.
Oh, wait a minute. You kind of glossed over one thing that I did see that happened.
Oh. Big Mike.
Yep.
I was going to get into that because it revolves around the TV tapings. But yeah, Big Mike Elgin is in the company, and I'm like, it'll be interesting to see how the mainstream media sticks with this, considering all the allegations that still haven't been sorted to this day against him are going. So in terms of what went down today for the tapings in the Rebel nightclub, as I say, the only one show that they're doing before they switch over to Philly later on this week. So for Explosion, Trey Miguel beat Jake Lander or somebody by pinfall. It'll open with Elgin cutting a promo saying that he made sure Cage couldn't be here to celebrate. Canadians are supposed to support Canadian athletes. And he left Japan to come to Impact and win the world title. Johnny Impact interrupts, saying how he breaks one machine and he gets another meathead. Makes fun of Elgin for being bald, and Elgin goes, well, at least my balls are on my body and not in your wife's purse. And Johnny went, well, I sent Cage to the hospital. Then Conan interrupts and says, I now represent the Lucha Brothers, and Penta has the best claim to the world title. And there was a big sort of brawl between Penta, Elgin, and Impact. You can guess what's happening. Ace Austin beats Petey Williams. Interesting stuff with Rosemary and Kira Hogan. So Rosemary's got the Undead Maid of Honor with her. So then the Undead Bridesmaids and Su Yung interfere and beat up Rosemary, free the Undead Maid. Then Kira teases helping Rosemary but doesn't. I think because Kira's sort of basically going that, okay, this is done. It's over. So I don't know. It's just weird. Phoenix beat Eddie Edwards thanks to a Killer Cross distraction. Then RVD comes out. I guess so much for him debuting in Philly because he's actually debuted in, Canada. RVD's out for a promo saying that he's glad to be back, and interrupted by Ethan Page, who brought chairs to have a face-to-face sit-down. And Ethan says that RVD is no hero to him. So RVD goes, okay, how about we have a match next week? And Ethan goes, fine. And then RVD gives him a Van Daminator. So then the triple threat with Johnny, Elgin, and Penta. With Elgin getting the win, pinning Johnny with an Elgin bomb. So Elgin is now number one contender to Brian Cage. Penta, though, may have injured his leg and was helped to the back. And AEW are going, you bastards. Then Moose and Josh Alexander lose to LAX in the opening for I guess week 2's worth of tapings. Tessa Blanchard joins the commentary as Madison Rayne makes Taya Valkyrie submit with a half crab. So I guess Madison has a title shot somewhere down the line, maybe in Philly. We'll see. Killer Cross beat Tyson Dukes on Explosion. Jordan Grace beat Alexia Nicole. Gamma Singh insults Toronto and introduces the Desi Hit Squad for their four-way match, also featuring Brent Banks and Aiden Prince, the Deaners, and the Rascals, of which the Desi Hit Squad win. RVD beats Ethan Page with a 5-star frog splash. And then the main event, OVE beats Swan, Willie Mack, Tommy Dreamer, and Fala Bar after Sammy pins Willie with a pile driver on some Legos to get the win. So what we're trying to say is weird. The taping does not look anywhere near the quality of really anything else, I would argue. So, in terms of what's coming this weekend, let's have a quick look. Apparently, there's a AAA Lucha Libre Elite Impact show or something happening on Thursday. The show is featuring the names that you might recognize. Ace Austin versus Drastic Boy. The Los Mercenarios of Rey Scorpion and El Tejano Jr. versus Bengala and Puma King. Pagano taking on Taurus. Sison Ramirez Jr. versus Villano Free Jr. Eddie Edwards, Eterno, and Golden Magic in a three-way. The Lucha Brothers face the Rascals. And Fatu versus LA Park. And yes, that is Rikishi. Rikishi versus LA Park. Did we want this match in 2019, Owen? Would you say? Silence is gold. Then we have the Progress weekend. All 3 days. Over Saturday, Sunday, and the Bank Holiday Monday, at least Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK, at the Ali Pali. Starting off with the first round matches, obviously, on day 1, which are trying to see if we've actually got the actual proper brackets. Have we got the brackets? Is that the image with the brackets?
I don't have them handy.
I've got the image for like. Oh, is that the one? There it is. So we got Chris Brooks versus Ilya Dragunov, Trevor Lee taking on Aerostar, Travis Banks versus DJZ, Artemis Spencer taking on David Starr, Kyle O'Reilly versus Chris Ridgway, Darby Allin taking on Paul Robinson, Lucky Kid versus Jordan Devlin, and Kyle Fletcher versus Darga. That's the way they sort of feature if you go top to bottom. So the final will be one of the first 8 versus the second 8. In terms of the bracket. So we could be getting, I don't know, maybe Dragunov versus Dragunov versus Trevor Lee, maybe. Travis Banks and David Starr, although I wouldn't be surprised if they let DJZ go a little bit far in the tournament because of his commitments to the E now. Ridgway, I think, could get the upset on O'Reilly to try and push him. Maybe Robinson over Allen, but I'm not sure. Lucky Kid and Jordan Devlin. I think Lucky Kid's winning that. I think there's going to be a lot of push behind Lucky Kid, probably because of WXW as well. And then Kyle Fletcher and Darga. I don't know. That'll be interesting. So that's going on night 1. Then we've got the quarterfinals on night 2, along with Ginny versus Session Moth in the final qualifying spot match for the match on day 3, which we'll get to. Do Not Resuscitate of Chuck Mambo, Drew Parker, Spike Trivet, and William Eva taking on Jimmy Havoc, Ligero, Mandrews, and Mark Haskins in an 8-man tag no DQ match. And then Trent Seven versus Volta in the Progress World title, Atlas title unification match. We know that Eddie Dennis is not going to be able to defend because he is injured, unless that is all a work. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was based in truth. So considering how he's got a year, I guess he's got a chance to recover because he's got till like the end of September from when he won it at Wembley last year. So hopefully he'll be able to recover in time. See, that's of course interesting as well because like both are WWE contracted. So whoever, I'm guessing it's more than likely that Volta's going to retain and then win the Atlas title and they just get rid of the Atlas title. Maybe. And then day 3, so Jordan Grace will be defending against Millie McKenzie, Nina Samuels, and the winner of Ginny and Session Moth, which should be a good match in itself, along with the semi-finals and the finals, and probably a whole heap of other matches as well to crown, I guess, the champion of the UK, somewhat. We've also got the Kaiju Big Battle Progress versus Kaiju show going on. No card for that one. All I know is, monsters are real. And some other line that I can't remember. We've got Rev Pro also running this weekend. Live at the cockpit. The only 2 matches, I believe, that are announced, at least according to Cage Match, are Brian Pillman Jr. versus Josh Bodon and Dan McGee versus Chase Samuels in a no DQ match. I think there were a couple of others as well recently added. Beyond Wrestling, along with Women's Wrestling Revolution and FCW, whichever that one is, are having the Lethal Lottery in the wide world of indoor sports in Rhode Island. Anthony Green seems to be wanting Stevie Richards. I think he's calling him out as part of the Beyond Wrestling Uncharted Territory show this Wednesday to build up hype for the match on Sunday. In terms of the other stuff, which isn't even listed on Cage Match, which I guess shows you how accurate that is. IPW UK. Their big one with Kip Sabian and Chris Ridgway headlining their show this Wednesday. The stipulation is the loser must leave IPW. This is interesting, considering Ridgway's commitment sort of on Progress and other things, and the more likely being Kip Sabian because of the AEW stuff. The only issue, of course, is we've seen this obvious thing happen before, i.e. when British Strong Style managed to beat the Kings of the North from OTT Wrestling in the Islands and all that. So yeah, the Uncharted Territory show. Have we got details about what's going on this one? I should probably just go to Beyond Wrestling because it will say on there. The big main event is the Best Friends versus LAX, which will be an interesting one. As I'm waiting for the page to load for the Uncharted Territory show. Slivers taking on the Beaver Boys. There'll be a 4-way women's match with Penelope Ford, Vader Scott, Ashley Vox, and Solo Darling. Chris Statlander will be returning, I guess, to some sort of action. And the Discovery Gauntlet, among other stuff, on the 2-hour show. And then the Lethal Lottery show on Sunday. We got Stevie Richards versus Anthony Green with the Platinum Honeys confirmed. We've also got Kimberly versus Chris Statlander, so I guess there'll be hype for that one on Wednesday show as well. M-Dog 20 Matt Cross taking on Gabriel Sky. Oh, I guess did the Josh Prohibition Matt Cross match not happen then on the AEW show? I guess not. There will be 4 Lethal Lottery tag team matches. And then the Beyond Battle Bowl. So there's 4 squads. There's the Beyond Wrestling squad, which is Janela, Dickinson, Silver, and Reynolds. The Women's Wrestling Revolution squad of Penelope Ford, Solo Darling, Vader Scott, and Ashley Vox. The Feast Sandwich Company squad of Joey Ryan, Poof, Supercop Dick Justice, and Shockwave the Robot. And the Independent Wrestling.tv squad of Orange Cassidy, Kurt Stallion, Jake Parnell, and Dasha Hatfield. Whoever wins gets to pick their opponents for American Rana on July 28th. So that could be fun. Probably. We've also got CDF Mid-Atlantic with their 3rd annual Canodal Brothers Tag Team Tournament 2-nighter over Saturday and Sunday. Oh, sorry, Friday and Saturday. I can't count. Yeah, May the 3rd and 4th, of course it is. The matches are actually going to be announced tomorrow, so we're in the awkward situation of not being able to tell you who's in it at this minute. Cam Carter will be facing somebody, though, in a singles match during the first round matchups day as well. So we know that former Mid-Atlantic Tab Champs Rob McBride and Tank Lawson are they're one of the teams that are in. By the looks of it, there's at least like hang on, see who's officially entered here. There's an actual post which says who's listed. So there's 10 teams in at the minute. The Mid-Atlantic Tag Champs, Don Ico. The former Mid-Atlantic Tag Champs and the Final Four team from 2018, Redemption, Michael McAllister and Nick Richards. Don Ico is Donald Don and Otto Schwanz, by the way. And then the All-Stars of Roy Wilkinson, Eric Royal. And then also TK Opa of Ted Island Jr. and Ulysses Demon. TJ Moss and Jamal the Titan. Darius Lockhart and Big Time Yar. Dirty Daddy and Ethan Alexander Sharp representing Corruption. Snooty Fox and Cowboy Cool J. Rob McBride and Tech Lawson, as Bruce mentioned. And also Aaron Big and Mike Mars. There may be more, there may be not. I'm not quite sure. Can't think a word to rhyme with that to turn it into a poem. But there you go. We've also got the traditional Mexican Cinco de Mayo shows for both CMLL and AAA over the weekend. I think the big match for CMLL is Roosh versus I can't even remember. An absolute blank. Having an absolute mare of it. I'll get to that in a minute. Southside Wrestling heading to Sheffield for a double header at the Corporation Club. So in the afternoon, the Super Bad Day of Reckoning, featuring Shigehiro and Rampage versus Shigehiro Irie. Irie and Rampage taking on Trial by Violence. Alan Maxted versus Ricky Knight Jr. Kip Sabian teaming up with Chief Deputy Dunn to take on Cody Hall and Miles Kamen. Robbie X versus Jack Sexsmith. The Session Moth and Lana facing Nightshade and Jade. And Brady Phillips versus LJ Heron. And then May the 4th be with you in the evening. We have Cara Noir versus Visage. Connors and Gracie versus Trial by Violence. Cody Hall and Adam Maxted one-on-one. The Magnificent Seven match with Sadie Gibbs, Robbie X, Rob Lynch, Brady Phillips, Kanji, Sean Custom, and Kelly Six. Kip Sabian defending the Speed King title against Ricky Knight Jr. Lana Austin and the Session Moth versus Styx and Sexsmith. Melina taking on Zia Brookside. Maybe for the Southside Women's Belt. And Shigehiro Irie defending the World Heavyweight title against Rampage Brown. So they've got to exist as a tag team in the afternoon before they go one-on-one for the title in the evening. And everything like that. PCW up in Preston at the Academy are also doing not another Star Wars show on May the 4th. At least they're being honest with the name. Dave Birch, James Finn, and Philip Michael confirmed to be a part of it. I don't know if there's any card listed, considering it's one of the Academy shows. Normally the Academy shows are somewhat don't list as much of the card ahead of time. Yeah, from what I look of it, they're focusing on a lot of the other stuff. Mainly, from what it looks like. We've also got ACW and WWN, where the tradition continues. Moving back over to America. Saturday night at Port Richey in Florida. On this one, the match is announced. Sage Scott and David King. Sage Scott versus the debuting JD Jenkins in a one-on-one. The Midnight Tribe are accompanying Sage, which is Jackson Dualier and David King. Aaron Epic versus Zachary Cooper. Sam C defends the Cruiserweight title against Rex Fury. And Blanco Loco and Joey Osborne defending their ACW tag belts against the task force of DMC and Mikey Spandex. Because who needs whipwrecks? I guess. Or something. And Northeast Wrestling are having a show in Bethany, Connecticut. I wouldn't say it's a major one. There's no sort of like big names on it. Their bigger shows are coming up in July, but if you want to support them and you're in the local area, normally they provide a good show, so certainly check them out. Femme Fatale 22 is going to be happening in Quebec, Canada on Saturday, which I believe is going to be one of the final matches for Lufisto. She'll be facing Cheerleader Melissa in a one-on-one match. That'll be good. For the interim championship, Mercedes Martinez faces Chris Statlander. We've got Priscilla Kelly versus Kimberly. Alexia Nicole are taking on Ashley Vox, and Vader Scott versus Davien. Along with Vanessa Craven will be appearing, even though she won't be wrestling, I think, due to injury. Angie Sky and Marilyn Rose, maybe among others. There's also going to be, by the looks of it, in the pre-show for the VIPs, a special Royal Rumble style match, with the winner of which actually getting a spot on the main show, which is a nice little reward for those women. I think that's the show. Oh, and then we've also got the House of Glory Impact Wrestling combined show happening on Sunday as well. That's it. Volador Jr. versus Roosh is the main event for the CMLL show. We've also got, by the looks of it, some I don't know what it because the poster's in sort of Mexican. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I'd still say Volador Jr. and Roosh. Main event is a pretty good Cinco de Mayo main event, in all honesty. And in terms of AAA, they're going to be in Hermosillo, by the looks of it, for their show. I don't know whether we have a card. We've got the card for the Friday show, which will have Dr. Wagner Jr. and Pagano versus Blue Demon Jr. and Tejano Jr. And Psycho Clown versus Rey Scorpion in a one-on-one match. I could probably go to the... I could and probably should, I should say, go to the... the Cubs fan page. Have a quick look at that. While that's loading, yeah, Impact's combining with House of Glory for Code Red. I don't know whether we've got any matches confirmed for this one, because obviously some of it's going to revolve maybe around the Impact stuff that's getting taped on Friday and Saturday in Philly. So it looks like there's going to be, Rich Swann defends the X Division title in a six-way that will feature Mantequilla, who's the Crown Jewel champion in House of Glory, along with Smiley, Evander James, Ace Austin, and Trey. Tessa Blanchard and Violette will be facing Scarlett Bordeaux and Sonya Strong in a tag match. Anthony Gangon will be defending the House of Glory World title, by the looks of it, against somebody. Ken Broadway versus Moose in a one-on-one match. There's no other matches confirmed. Just a few of the talents, like Impact, I think maybe, but it might be Cage now because of the title. LAX will be there. Obviously, Jordan won't be there because she's busy. She'll be busy as part of the progress shows, among other things. Quickly having a quick look at the whether they have the cards listed for what's coming up for the other shows. Please help me, Cubs fan. Hopefully. I mean, there might not be matches listed, so it might just be sort of what I can make out from what posters say. By the looks of it, it might actually be that. So I'm not entirely sure what's on the AAA show. As part of Cinco de Mayo. As I say, though, the Volador Jr. versus Roosh match should be good for CMLL. That'll probably be on their YouTube page. Just like the Monday night stuff is, that happens at the same time as Raw, so I don't get a chance to see it. So there should be some fun stuff of various different companies, across America and the world. Owen, we're just about to wrap up.
Right.
But are we aiming to do a show like either this time next week or Tuesday next week?
Perhaps.
I'm trying to work out whether we need to preview War of the Worlds Night 1, because it'll be on the Wednesday, probably at the same time that we're doing a show.
Perhaps.
So Night 1 is in Buffalo next Wednesday. Then Night 2 in Toronto on Thursday. Night 3, which isn't even listed here. Oh no, Night 3 Saturday in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then Night 4 on Sunday in Chicago. But I'm looking next week. Dear Lord. Yeah, we've got Shikara's Infinite Gauntlet. We've got the Ring of Honor 4 matches. CZW, Pro Wrestling Eve's back, some more Southside, Evolve doubleheader, Shine's got a show, Rev Pro's got one of its big shows, and PWG as well. So it's getting busy again, kids. Hopefully we get a break to some extent by the time we get to bloody Double or Nothing weekend. Although looking at it, we don't, because there's other matches happening that weekend as well. Sometimes you do wish at some points that we'd get some breaks. In terms of Bellator stuff, because I'm seeing some stuff in the chat, whether Owen can read them off to keep him awake for the next bit, I'll quickly run through the stuff that happened. So the Bellator one, bit interesting. Phil David, on the main card, Gaston Bolanos beating Nathan Stolen midway through the first. Phil Davis beating Liam McGeary in a pretty decent match for the light heavyweight division. Benson Henderson beating Adam Piccolotti via split decision, which, it's considering how it was split literally 2-1, 29-28, shows you how close it was. Aima Leigh McFarlane retaining the women's flyweight belt via a dock stoppage midway through the third round over Veta Arteaga. And then Roy McDonald and John Fitch, which was a title fight, but also a welterweight World Grand Prix quarterfinal match. It was a good fight. Rory getting, I'd say, beaten. I would argue it was probably a 48-47. But the judges gave it 48-46 to John Fitch, but then the other two gave it 47 apiece. Therefore, it's a majority draw. Therefore, Rory McDonald retains the belt and progresses through, even though it could be arguable that he didn't win the fight. Awkward. It's a shame it had to be that way because obviously the title's on the line. Also, it would screw up the tournament because it'd be like somebody gets a bye through to the finals because of the other match in the bracket. But I felt a little bit sad that Fitch, probably just about, I'd say that was just about ahead. I don't know what rounds I gave, but I think I gave 3 rounds to Fitch from looking at the highlights, and then McDonald I gave 2. It was very even. But it's a shame that obviously via majority draw, Rory sort of wins by default, so progresses on. How much that will have taken out of Rory for future fights, I don't know. They'll probably give him plenty of time, though, anyway. They are heading to Birmingham, England, not too far from me, to the Resorts World Arena, formerly the NEC Arena, because I'll always call it that. Because that's where Gladiators happened, damn it. No, it wasn't. That was at the other arena. I'm a dick. A few matches on the main card there. A welterweight, a middleweight, and a lightweight being headlined by Brent Primus taking on Tim Wilde. Should be a decent show. I might actually be able to see that live because I think it's being aired on UK television live, so I might try and catch some of that live. I may not, though. So in terms of UFC stuff, interesting stuff here as well. So the main ESPN Plus card I'll just run through. Roosevelt Roberts beating Thomas Gifford via unanimous decision 30-27 across the board. A split 2-1, 29-28 with Corey Sandhagen beating John Lineker. I'd say that's just about right. But it was close. I could see it either way. Glover Teixeira beating Ion Cutelaba via rear naked choke midway through the second. Mike Perry over Alex Oliveira in I'd say it was probably fair to give it 29-28 across all 3 judges. I'd say that was right. Then Greg Hardy beating Dmitry Smolyakov. Midway through the first, which, of course, bloody your boy, bloody Dana has a go against Greg Hardy, despite the fact you could sort of tell from the body language of Dmitry that he didn't want to be in the fight, in all honesty. Which I guess was a bit awkward. So I feel Dana may have been a little bit harsh on Greg for saying, "Oh, he wasn't on form. He should have done it quicker." And then Jack Hermansson beating Ronald Souza Jacare unanimously, the knockdown that probably decided it. I'm surprised it was a 48-47. It probably should have been a 48-46 because of the knockdown. But I'd say Hermansson delivered. Overall, pretty good. Mike Perry and Alex Oliveira's fight did get fight of the night, so $50,000 bonuses for them. Glover Teixeira got a $50,000 bonus for his rear naked choke submission. And on the ESPN2 early prelims, Jim Miller's rear naked choke submission. Midway through the first round this time against Jason Gonzalez, got him a $50,000 bonus. UFC heads to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada this Saturday with the main ESPN Plus card with Marc-Andre Ballieu versus Andrew Sanchez in the middleweights. Walt Harris versus Sergey Spivak in the heavyweights. Brad Katona versus Rob Dravchili from the bantamweight division. Then the featherweights, Cub Swanson versus Shane Burgos. Derek Brunson versus Elias Theodorou in the middleweights. And then the main event, Al Alacatina in a lightweight bout against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Which should be fun. Having a quick look at the chat, because apparently it picked up Owen while we were out. So, thoughts on Yoka beating Yakare? I mean, it was a surprise on paper, but we've seen quite a bit of that over the last few weeks, so I'd say it was pretty good. Mike Perry versus Alex Oliveira. I'd say, yeah, that delivered as well. How has Ring of Honor been since the Bucks, Paige, and SoCal and Cody leaving? In all honesty, rough. You sort of feel them, along with New Japan, with Kenny going and whatever, are lacking the sort of big names that are getting the big pull. And would you agree on that, Owen? Owen. Woo! Owen. Alexa, what's the time?
It's 1:04 a.m.
Oh, that might be why we need to finish. One Triple S had a good comment if you're awake now, Owen.
Early.
How's Ring of Honor been since everybody left? I'd honestly say rough. It's not been great. I don't know what your take is.
It's definitely growing pains, that's for sure.
I'd say it's similar as well with New Japan, because the ticket sales for considering it's the G1, you'd thought it'd be big. Apparently the ticket sales are struggling for that show.
Yep.
Which is interesting. What's up with NWA champs having long title reigns? Well, it's because they didn't have many different shows that they could promote them on, so they had to have the belts for a while. I mean, if you take out the Cody interruption, Oldest, I think, has had the NWA title for what, like a year and a half now, give or take? Quite a while. Rory McDonald teasing he doesn't have the fight in him. Yeah. Rory hasn't fought the same since the Robbie fight. Snap Wrestling would be Killer Cross, Billy Ray, Austin, Aries, I guess, Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, Alicia Fox, and all the clowns in AAA. No, I think Apollo Crews has got talent. I'm guessing we're doing the snap as in who would we get rid of, if Thanos came along. Aries has snapped himself, hasn't he? The clowns in AAA, no. I think Psycho Clown is actually pretty good. I mean, you can see how crazy he is over. Pyro saying Finn's going to win the Rumble and challenge for the Universal. That's really long-term booking. Maybe, I don't know. Is Naito going to ever win the heavyweight champ? It's been so long that I realize Okada beat him to begin his reign. Yeah, it's always weird with that. You got to transition around and whatever. Naito possibly could, maybe. Any chance I can join Imperium? No. I'm not German enough. Apparently, that's what you need to be to join an Imperium. I got more chance to be in British Strong Style. I don't know. Can Impact sell tickets than the 2,500 seat venues? Well, we don't even know where the show in Dallas is happening. I wouldn't have thought it's going to be a giant arena because they've got to struggle to get tickets, but it seems they're just happy with what they're running and collaborating with small indie shows and getting, a few hundred in. So, what's next for Okada? Well, he's probably going to retain against Sanada. I mean, Dominion could be the rematch for Jay White, but it could be Ibushi. Could be Suzuki. The interesting one would be Ishii. I'm just trying to think of like the heels, and there isn't sort of anybody that sort of stands out really, other than Jay White, and there could be a rematch. We'll see. Why did Joe Hendry leave Impact? I don't know. I guess they didn't want to be interested with him. Also, it depends on if they were going to pay him, if they were going to pay for him to be flown out. It may have just cost too much that way, in all honesty, maybe. When is Impact going to be able to produce talent and not talent they borrow from other companies? Considering how everybody that they brought in recently, including the Deaners, are from other companies on the indies. Yeah. I've got something happening. What's next for Pete Dunne after Volta? Ooh. I'd like to see him transition to be on the NXT main roster for a bit, mainly, but considering his, as it is with Trent and their commitments to the wrestling companies that they run and have schools and whatever, that might be a better commitment as part of the whole WWE sort of talent development thing. So they might just go on the they might just transition into sort of less matches so they're not working as much. I don't know. Is it going to take NXT UK to have a mid-card title? I mean, maybe. They keep hinting that something's happening regarding NXT UK and an actual television deal here in the UK, but nothing's been announced officially yet. So maybe when that happens, there'll be another sort of wave of momentum with the British wrestling scene. AEW stuff. I don't know whether AEW had a show this past weekend. And if they did, dear Lord, I lose track of a lot of that stuff. Yeah, the last show was April the 12th, which we covered. With MJF beating DJZ and all that to get the titles. Their next show, I believe, is like mid-May, May the 11th, pretty much the day before PWG, because probably all the talents are going to go on there, more than likely. There we go. One Triple S talking about the Puerto Rican stripper, Mercado Milos. Why are LAX champions again? I get it. They need to get the titles off Lucha Bros, but is there anybody else? And you mentioned the Desi Hit Squad. No. I think the Desi Hit Squad are just a waste of space, in all honesty. I don't know why they're there. I don't think the only teams that I think are there really are OVE, and now that they've come in the North, you know, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander I've been a fervent supporter of for a number of years, even despite the injuries to Josh and all that. So I'd like to see them get a chance. Maybe the Rascals as well. But the problem is there's 3 of them, so does that mean you have to do them whatever? What was the point of Gail Kim winning the title in a retirement match and vacating? Well, as it turned out, it clearly wasn't a retirement match because the Tessa Blanchard one, as I say, felt way more like a retirement match. Conan represents Lucha Brothers after the feud. That's so weird. Well, keep in mind with Impact, you know, you had Johnny Impact, champion, and then all of a sudden he's heel. He's got a heel referee on his pocket and whatever, because we're trying to cover for the fact that Austin Aries walked out the company. Moose got turned heel after losing to Aries for no real reason, and the crowd are already sort of starting to sort of turn on him and turning him into a face. And Killer Cross is a waste of space, I think. Hyro was talking about, you know, Conan representing Penta is like Tyra and Johnny turning heel for no reason, which is fair. Isn't Trevor Lee in NXT? He's signed to developmental, I believe, but he hasn't been officially unveiled yet. So he's sort of like DJZ, except obviously DJZ hasn't gone yet. Have I heard anything on Adam Ugly? No. Has NXT been using Punishment Martinez recently? Yes. He's on the next set of tapings that happened last week. They're actually doing tapings this coming Wednesday as well, where I guess we'll find out whether they are doing a takeover next month. Maybe not. Is Samuel Shaw ever going to do Impact? Remember his stalker gimmick? Well, he was there because he was randomly at the end sort of hugging LAX as they were celebrating. He was there. I don't think the stalker gimmick is sort of worth it, in all honesty. Has Ellsworth defended his intergender title? I don't think he's defended any title because nobody wants anything to do with him. Eddie Guerrero, some returned. Greg Hardy's fight was a bad indie level bot show. I feel sorry for Greg because I don't think he did anything wrong. It's just his opponent really didn't look like he wanted to be there, in all honesty. Bray Wyatt's Fire Funhouse reminds me of Blue's Clues. Yeah, to some extent, I see what you mean there. And then thoughts on Fog Rose versus Jessica Andrade for the strawweight belt in a couple of weeks. Should be a good bout. I don't want to commit too much yet. I think Andrade would be a worthy champ if she did win. I'd also, though, like to see Rose run with the belt a bit. I think that'd be good. And it's good to see that the women are actually getting the main event in Rio. Being bolstered, admittedly, by a very good undercard with Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, and Thiago Alves matches. Also, I think Nogueira's on the prelims as well, and BJ Penn, among others. So that's a pretty strong pay-per-view card that's happening in Brazil in a couple of weeks. But I guess we'll discuss more about that next week. More than likely. So I think, Owen, that actually is it. We can go to bed. Alexa, can we end the show? Alexa, what's the weather like?
Right now in Orlando, it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies. Today's forecast has mostly sunny weather, with a high of 89 degrees and a low of 70 degrees.
When is it never sunny in Florida, Owen?
Right now.
Well, it's overcast, but it's still... The forecast for tomorrow is sunny.
Oh, yeah.
We can wind it up. I went quickly through some of the comments in chat.
All right, so that's your show this week. AJ finally got to review Avengers Endgame. That's up on the network. Check that out. I got a lot of Voices of Liberty I put up, so all those are up. And Ashley's got some content coming in the near future.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and line up some sort of gaming video regarding the whole Riot Games issue, which is an interesting one, which if you haven't heard about, it will be an interesting topic to cover over the next few days.
So that's what's going on in this. Obviously, we're building towards later in this year being a much ballyhooed part of the time where things go bump in the night, to say the least, and crazy things happen in the fog. So 4:30.
Is that the weekend?
It's almost 3 months. 4:30
No, it's
Saturday.
May the 4th.
Fingers crossed, kiddies.
Yeah, May the 4th. Something's happening regarding that.
Literally and figuratively.
In terms of wrestling, Super Strong Style this weekend. Next weekend, we got PWG and Evolve and all that. Then the following weekend, actually looks to be somewhat of a maybe easier lineup. And then it goes crazy for, is it Memorial Weekend at the end of May?
Yes.
I think it's Memorial Day. Which, of course, is going to be enveloped by StarCast and Double or Nothing.
Yep.
Of which StarCast just added a Viceland Theatre, where they're going to be screening the Dark Side of the Ring series at 4 different times over the Thursday, the Friday, and the Saturday, I believe. Or is it the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday? Somewhere in the area. I don't think anything else has been added that I remember off the top of my head yet. We've still got to find out what that last slot is in the lineup in terms of the schedule. But I guess that will be developed. And before I forget, I'm guessing you saw the 605, didn't you, yesterday, Owen?
No.
Oh. So this is the quote that Cody did regarding the Dustin match. My entire lot, my whole class of peers have been compared to these gilded late 90s through the early 2000s for over a decade, and it's an utter sham. Sure, you paved the roads for us, but gosh, you set the speed markers at 35 because you're terrified of any of us putting our fucking foot down on the pedal. And this is the key bit. You mean to tell me some pissant bodybuilder making every match a no DQ, meandering around the crowd, throwing the jib cam at his opponent, compares with a Kenny Omega Kazuchika Okada match? Or some bra and panty spectacular can match up with what the women did last September the 1st? Or even Dwayne, as electric as he was, rhyming and raising, was it really better than what Punk said sitting on that stage? You know, he doesn't want to kill Dustin. He wants to kill the Attitude Era. I think he did the smart move of letting it develop for a couple of weeks and then putting the knife in the jugular at WWE. Trying to say, we actually might be the alternative. You can take your cheap shots all you want. They didn't respond to them directly after WrestleMania. They sort of teased it with the whole one episode being titled Pissant, but there you go. And being the elite stuff, there's still confusion about what's going on with the librarian gimmick and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny's losing his shit about booking way too much things.
Yep.
By the looks of it. Daniels was struggling with Alley Cat and Penelope Ford by the looks of it. Randomly. And allegedly, the best friends are going to be in the Battle Royal. Even though Chuck Taylor has said, I'm not in a fucking Battle Royal. So, something will happen with that, I guess. I'm just waiting for the Super Smash Brothers. I want to know where they show up.
It's coming.
Oh, God. Super Smash versus Best Friends? Yes. Book it, Cody. Book it. You're 1/3. So, yeah, that's actually it. I'm on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK. No things.
I'm on Twitter at SirOwenDisney. And as always, in a world with our billion wrestling podcasts, we're very pleased that once more tonight you've chosen a Popcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.